pass the microphone to Adam Karamans, who is in charge of this symposium.
Thank you so much, Monica. I'm just 30 seconds. Um, we really wanted to have a symposium on the state of monocot research and conservation in Costa Rica. So we thought of doing this, and I'm very excited that we can have speakers of the level of Franco Pupulin, Diego Bogarin, Silvia Lobo, and Mario Blanco to execute this. So I hope you enjoy these talks and we can learn a bit of the state of knowledge and conservation of Costa Rican monocots. So please, let's start.
So the first speaker today is Mario Blanco. Also, for the persons that will present, you will see me with signs like this. When you will see this, that means that it's a time for your conclusions, okay? So the stage is yours.
I'm afraid that Monica is gonna. I'm the first one that Monica is gonna have to cut off the microphone from. Hopefully, I won't exceed the time too much. Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna present a very brief overview of the state of knowledge of Costa Rican monocots. It's gonna be very simple. It's gonna be from the point of view of floristics and basically going family through family, uh, looking at how many species are known for the country and how many species have been added during the last 20 years. Okay, some basic information about the country. Costa Rica has 51,000 square kilometers. The highest elevation is 3,800 meters in Cerro Chirripó. And there is a chain of mountains that runs from northwest to the southeast that divides the country into versants, the Caribbean versant, which is less seasonal, more humid, and the Pacific versant, which in the north at least is very seasonal, toward the south is less seasonal. Okay, in terms of botanical exploration of the country, Costa Rica has enjoyed uh, almost a continuous attention from botanists. Uh, we can, I'm presenting some of the main events or main points. Of course, there's the history is much more complicated than this. But in 1839, there was started a period of European botanists that stayed in the country for short periods of time, even from a few weeks to a few years, and they were collecting plants, bringing the specimens back to their countries, and that's how the floristic knowledge of the country started. Uh, in 1887, Henry Pithier, a Swiss botanist, came to the country hired by the Costa Rican government, and he started the first systematic exploration of the country. He collected 10,000 specimens, more than 10,000 specimens, and those formed the basis of what is now the National Costa Rican Herbarium. In 1923, Paul Stanley came and he collected a lot of specimens too, more than 15,000 specimens, and he published the first flora of Costa Rica in 1937. In 1966, William Berger from the Field Museum uh, started the project Flora Costarricensis. And this project went to to publish 13 volumes with treatments to 53 angiosperm families. And from 1987 to 2020, the Missouri Botanical Garden, and together with the Instituto Nacional de Biodiversidad, uh, carried out the massive project called the Manual de Plantas de Costa Rica, which published 8 volumes with all the treatments for all the vascular plant families of the, not vascular plant, seed plant families. And they ended up dividing or classifying them in 237 families and more than 9,000 specimens, species, sorry. But what is useful for this presentation is that all the monocot treatments were published in 2003. So this is a convenient time because 20 years later, well, 21, but I'm going to refer to as a 20-year period, So it will let us see how many more species were added during this period. At that time, almost 3,000 species of monocots were treated in these taxonomic treatments. Okay, I'm gonna be using the classification of families of the monocot phylogeny website. This website recognizes 11 monocot orders and 78 families of monocots and about 60,000 species, or that's the estimate at least. And in Costa Rica, we can find 9 monocot orders, 40 families, and according to the latest counts, which can vary depending on species circumscription, about 3,400 species of monocots. These are the 40 families of monocots according to the Angiosperm phylogeny website classification that occur in Costa Rica. The ones in red, you can see there are 4 families that are marked in red. Those families are exotic. Of course, they're not native, but they have species that have become either naturalized or that are widely cultivated and persist in abandoned fields. So they have been incorporated in the local flora, at least in the taxonomic treatments. This is a graph that shows our current understanding of the relationships between these orders of the orders of monocotyledons. You can see that there are 2 orders here marked with the red X's that do not occur in Costa Rica. Well, there's a species of Acorus that is rarely cultivated here, but of course it's not native. I'm going to be working my way up from starting from Alismatalis, showing family by family and telling the number of species that are in the country known right now. So starting with the Alismatalis, there are 6 families in Costa Rica. The family Araceae, which is sister to the rest of the genus, has, as of right now, about 306 species and growing. There's a lot of taxonomic work going on in this family, and new species are being constantly published, discovered and published. Those 3 genera are the largest ones. You can see the numbers, and there are 51 more species than 20 years ago, and that represents a 20% increase in the number of species in that 20-year period. And this is Monstera croati, named in honor of Tom Croat, sitting here, which was one of the species described by Marco Cedeño, who is doing a lot of work on this together with Tom too. Okay, in the Alismatalis, we have also the family Alismataceae, which according to this circumscription of family, it includes the family Limnocaritaceae. There are 16 species. There's 2 more species than 20 years ago that have been added to the flora. In the Hydrocaritaceae, there's 9 species. What is interesting here is that 2 genera have marine species, that they're sea grasses that spend all their lives in the ocean close to the shore. But there's no change in this number, in this family, sorry, in numbers of species discovered during that period. These 3 small families, Cimorosiaceae, Potamogetonaceae, and Rupiaceae, have no change in numbers of species in this period. In the Cimorosiaceae, we have Halodule and Syringodium, which are also sea grasses. They're marine angiosperms. Now in the Pandanalis, sorry, we have 3 families, these ones that are here. In the Cyclantaceae, we have 50 species in Costa Rica, just 1 additional species from 20 years ago, Barry Hamel, which from the Missouri Botanical Garden, who lives here in Costa Rica. He's a specialist in the family, and apparently he did a very good job 20 years ago in recording all the species, and just 1 more has turned up. Pandanaceae, of course, is not native, but there's a species of Pandanus tectorius, that is apparently naturalized close to the on beaches on the Caribbean coast, especially. and that's why we included here. The Trioridaceae has two species of mycoheterotrophs, and actually the species of Triuris that has been collected here in Costa Rica has not been identified to the species level because the flowers are not, in the specimen are not very well preserved, and we still don't know if it's a new species or a known species. And there's no change in these two families, Pandanaceae and Trioridaceae, since the last 20 years. In the order Dioscorieales, we have these three families in Costa Rica. Dioscoriaceae, of course, is the largest with 25 species in the country. There's only one species that has been added in this 20-year period. The Burmaniaceae and Thismiaceae are, of course, mainly mycoheterotrophs or partial mycoheterotrophs, at least in the genus Burmania. And Thismiaceae, in most classifications, is merged with Burmaniaceae, but according to the Angiosperm phylogeny website, is recognized as a different family. Actually, a paper that just came out in Q Bulletin recognizes another family in this Afrothismiaceae from the Thismia species that used to be, well, Afrothismia, of course, from Africa only. We don't have that family here. But in here you can see that each one of these families has one more species, has had one more species added since in this 20-year period. This photo, which Leonardo Alvarez, who is present here, sent me like a couple of weeks ago. It represents a new record that just appeared a couple of weeks, well, apparently a couple of weeks ago. Is Burmania tenella, which is widespread in South America, but just turned up here. So this is one of the mycoheterotrophs that appeared, and it's a new record. In the order Lilialis, we have these four families. In the Alströmeriaceae, we have only the genus Bomaria, and with 9 species. Which is curious here is that you can see that there's 2 less species compared to 20 years ago, and that's because of synonymization. I'm just following nominal species here, and I'm not judging whether these synonymizations are correct or not, so that brings the number of species in the family down. And also the same thing happens in Smilacaceae. Smilax is poorly known in terms of its taxonomy. Different specialists do not agree on the circumscription of the species, and this is a family in dire need of study. So the same thing happened there with 2 species that have been lost due mainly to synonymizations. In the Liliaceae, we have only 1 adventive species, Lilium longiflorum, that has become naturalized in highland area in the Talamanca Mountains, and which is it's native to Japan. And the Meliantaceae, we will have only a species of Strenocalon, and there's no change in the number of species in these families. In the Asparagales, we have 6 families in Costa Rica. The largest one, of course, is Orchidaceae, is the monster in the room, with, of the latest count published by my colleagues at Lancaster Botanical Garden in last December, at the end of December, there are 1,684 species and counting. New species of orchids are added every month, basically. This count represents 324 more species than 20 years ago. That represents a 23% increase, almost a quarter. So that's very, very remarkable. And on average, 16.2 new species have been added per year in this 20-year period, which is remarkable. Of course, this is due to the high diversity of the family in the tropics, but also has a lot to do with that there is a dedicated research institute here in Costa Rica devoted to the study of orchids. If Lancaster Garden didn't exist, we probably would still had increased a bit the number of species, but probably not that much. Okay, in the Hypoxidaceae, we have 3 species, no change in numbers. In the Asteliaceae, we only have 1 species of Cordyline, Cordyline fruticosa, which is adventive. It's actually not clear if it's naturalized or not, but it persists in abandoned fields. It's planted as an ornamental and also as uh, a plant that is used for dividing properties. It's planted in rows and it persists in abandoned fields. The Iridaceae has 16 species, 2 more than 20 years ago. Amaryllidaceae with 11 species, no change since 20 years ago. And Asparagaceae sensulato, which is controversial to some people, of course, because it's a highly heterogeneous, morphologically speaking, family. There are 20 species in the country, 8 genera. There are 6 genera that are indicated here that are the genera that have native species. And there's 1 more species that has been added in the genus Forcrea in the last 20 years. This is Dracena americana, 1 of only 2 species of Dracena native to the neotropics, and also occurs here. In the Arachales order, thank you, we have 1 family, Aracaceae, the palm family, and there are 115 species in Costa Rica, with about 6 more species that have been added. Some of them have been synonymized too. Poales has these 8 families. I'm gonna try to go faster now. 205 species in Bromeliaceae with 10 more added. Typhaceae, only 1 species. Eriocaudaceae has 11 species with 3 new added since 20 years ago. Cyridaceae, only 4 species, not very diverse here in the country. In the Cyperaceae, 221 species, 11 added since 20 years ago. Juncaceae, 1 species added since 20 years ago for a total of 10 now. Mayacaceae, we only have 1 species of Mayaca. Mayaca fluviatilis, an aquatic plant. In the Poales, we have Poaceae, which has 510 species according to my latest counts. The agrostologists among you might correct this number. I'm not completely sure. But it's surprising that 118 species of those are exotic and naturalized. And at least 22 more species have been added. One of the most remarkable one is this species of Sia vespertilio, that was discovered described in 2013 from an island close to the northwest shore of Guanacaste. In the Comelinales, 38 species, Hemorrhaceae, only 1 species, Ponteriaceae 10. And finally, the Zingiberales with 41 species in Heliconiaceae, 6 adventive species in Musa, 57 species of Barantaceae, only 3 species of Canaceae, and 27 species of Costaceae, 2 new ones in that period, and 20 species, of Zingiberaceae. This graph here summarizes these numbers. Of course, well, the bars here in blue represent the total number of species in each family. The green bars represent the number of endemic species, as far as we know. And the red numbers represent the increment in number of species since 2003. So you can see that Orchidaceae, again, not only has the highest number of species in the country, but the highest rate of discovery, followed by Araceae, which has 20% increase in the number of species. And I think that I'm out of time. Well, I have 2 minutes, but basically, I'm done.
Thank you very much,
Mario.
Marion. Yeah, so we have time for 1 or 2 questions, or even 3. Perfect.
I'll make my answers long so that there's only 1 question. There's also 1 question here by Tom.
Thank you, Mario, for your talk. Just 1 quick question. What type of things seems to me that Costa Rica has a well established school related to document biodiversity, especially orchids? what type of suggestions could you make to, for example, other South American countries, sorry, other American countries like Peru or Brazil to kind of just improve our knowledge in our own countries about our own biodiversity?
Okay, I guess that the most obvious suggestion would be that if if the if it's to the decision makers, then that the decision makers can invest more resources on education, especially university education, to train botanists, and that those universities dedicate resources to taxonomic work and herbaria, basically. That would be the most obvious suggestion, I guess. Also, for students that are graduates from those universities to go abroad to do PhDs, as you're doing, and to train themselves further and bring back the knowledge to their home countries.
Mario, would you have any prediction as to which families remaining in monocots would have the greatest potential for more species, more new species, or any species in Costa Rica?
I think it's obvious that Orchidaceae is the one that has the most potential for more species because of its great diversity. I can think of the genus Stelis, which is a big black box in terms of circumscription of species. And that one probably has at least 100 species in Costa Rica, which are not very well characterized right now. And Araceae is the second one, in my opinion, which a lot of species have been described as you have been describing. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the third one, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Mario. So it was a great talk. I have one short question. Where did these new species of Cyperaceae come from? I suppose most are new records, but do you know the sources? Or?
I don't know the details of the new species that have been added. I think that most of these data come from annotations of herbarium specimens. Most of these data were downloaded by my colleague Diego Bogarin from GBIF. And I'm not, because I don't know anything about the taxonomy of Cyperaceae. I assume that most of them are new records for the country, not new species.
Okay, thank you very much. We need to run to the next talk.
Thank you.